Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to Linda's Conscious Talks, and I'm your host, Linda Summers. And we've got another great show for you today. We have Dr. Dubroff back on our show again today. He will be here the whole month of June, so look forward to some great conversations. And today's topic is Classical Homeopathy, Transformational Healing. And for those of you who are just joining us and haven't had a chance to go back and listen to June 1st and June 8th, please do. You can go to Linda Summers' YouTube and see those videos and listen to those shows as well. So that would be good to check into those and hear the topics that we've had back then. So Dr. Dubroff received his bachelor's in biology at the University of Massachusetts in Boston in 1997. He attained his doctorate in naturopathy from the National College of Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon in 2002. Naturopaths are recognized as primary care doctors in the state of California. Dr. Dubroff is an alternative doctor and practices a three-pronged approach to holistic medicine. Scientific evidence-based botanical nutritional medicine stimulating the individual's natural resources to heal, and diet and lifestyle to promote and ensure health and wellness. Dr. Dubroff completed a year-long residency in mental health and homeopathic applications during his schooling at NCNM. He has given many lectures in the community as well as hospital and other medical settings. He has also designed a year-long CME course on alternative medical applications for mental health professionals. Dr. Dubroff started his clinical practice in Portland, Oregon, where he served as a preceptor doctor for training students in homeopathy for NCNM. He moved to Los Angeles in 2007 to work with an orthopedic surgeon for 2 years before starting his own practice in Orange County and San Diego County. And with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Dubroff back to the show. Hi, welcome back.
Hi, Linda.
It's good to have you back on.
It's nice to be back on. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. So I was going to start off with a question, but what I wanted to lead into, because I found this very fascinating, and it seems like, or it feels like the theme, what we're really talking about are some modalities to help our bodies to heal and how we can promote them to heal. So with that, I was on the airplane, and I heard this woman say that she had this muscle disease and that she was just going to have to live with this. And I thought to myself, wow, like, how many people do they say if they've got whatever disease, diabetes or whatever it is, and that, you know, I'm just going to have to live asthma. I'm just going to have to live with that the rest of my life. I don't believe that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, I can... Some ways back, probably about a year ago, I was treating a woman, and she brought her husband in with, I think it was muscular dystrophy or one of those kind of, you know, degenerative processes. And I've actually done really well with neurodegenerative processes or muscular or autoimmune or these kind of things. Anyways, he came to see me. I don't remember what the condition was. It was one of those muscular dystrophies or something along that line. And And this happens a lot with homeopathy. Not a lot, but it happens every now and then. We got a remedy for him, and they were so set on seeing it. You know, I'll get to the point related to what you were saying, I swear. But they were so set on seeing, I think, natural medicine or really classical homeopathy fit a conventional prescribing method. They didn't listen to what I was saying, which was basically, classical homeopathy. We're looking to stimulate the system to heal, like you had mentioned, and that initial process in classical homeopathy, because we're not looking to treat with opposites, depression, antidepressants, but we're looking to treat with very safe, very effective medicines, very dilute medicines to stimulate a response from the system. And we're looking to provide a medicine that is very, very much the well-fit medicine. And in this case, we prescribed medicine for him. I said, take one dose because, you know, he didn't walk well. And they took more because I think probably like a lot of people do, they think, oh, well, how could this work with just, you know, one application, two applications, three applications, or whatever it might be. But the idea is that once when you're trying to stimulate the person to respond, once you get a stimulation, you can go with that. Anyway, they contacted me, a month later saying, when do we stop this? And I was, or they didn't even say that. I forget exactly what they said. But he was basically having some extended muscle twitching and spasms and such. And so, of course, it occurred to me that, he was in the continued aggravation. I asked, well, he's not still on the remedy, is he? And she was like, oh, yeah, he was taking it the whole time. And I love these people to death. But I think that if he had remembered that I said only take him to an aggravation that stopped. And I guess the point is, the sad part about that is, and this can happen in homeopathy too, the aggravation can kind of frighten people a little bit, but it's so dilute that there's really nothing to talk about it with it. That's why a lot of conventional systems have such problems with it, because it's just so dilute, they don't understand how it could work. But it can aggravate, and therefore, under that explanation idea is, listen, if this can aggravate you, and I'm telling you it's going to aggravate you, telling you once you get over that aggravation, if you handle it appropriately and don't burn out your energy on it, it's going to start to help you heal. And whether it be he was frightened of the aggravation, whatever it was, I couldn't ever get him to take the medicine after that. And of course, all he would have done after just dosing constantly and tiring down his system, that he couldn't respond to it. He didn't have any issues post from it, from what I'm telling you. And his wife even told me that she had seen some improvements. But we couldn't continue treatment even though we had started treatment and seen a desired response, a confused response. But that happens a lot. Even when people are willing to digest it, sometimes they're not willing to digest as much as they think they are. And it's always been a mystery to me to how that happens. Might have not been completely the response we were looking for, but just reminded me of that, concerning that case and what you chose to talk about with a muscular issue.
Yeah, well, I think the whole I feel like with that, it doesn't even have to be a muscle disease. It could just be asthma or diabetes or anything that we feel that, okay, this is something that we've been told that we're going to have to live the rest of our life. And I just don't feel that that's true. I think that...
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is people get attached to these thoughts, and I don't blame them. They're worried that they'll go down some false hope road, or they're worried they won't get better, or they're worried about the energy it takes to take themselves out of a new state to see hope. It's very stressful. But yeah, I mean, the conventional system is what it is, but I don't, you really have to not be paying attention, or if you don't realize that it doesn't really treat chronic health conditions all that too well. The home of conventional medicine is infectious disease and surgical considerations and emergency medicine, right. Not chronic health conditions. Unless you think the only thing that you should ever try in your life is steroids for instance, for like autoimmunity, which will pretty much deteriorate your body in short order. And there's plenty of research for other ways.
Right. Well, I guess that's where I feel that the classical homeopathy, when we talk about that, is one of the modalities that is a possibility, depending upon what the person's situation really is. That's where you're going to define what route to take. But for the sake of the conversation today on our show, we're talking about classical homeopathy. So, and you mentioned that you had given this person a homeopathic remedy. And I guess what came to my mind was, when it's kind of like so you're basically given a prescription. Take this one time.
A prescribed medicine. It's not something that you need a prescription for. You could have done your own work on the subject and deduced the full set of symptoms that would be needed to be prescribed upon and given that remedy. So in that sense, it's not a prescription, but it is a prescription in the sense that it's a true medical art.
Yeah, and I mean prescription in the sense of not actually writing a prescription out, but giving direction as to, take this for the next week one time. But I think
I do that all the time. I'm sorry, go ahead. I want to make sure I don't misunderstand you. Go ahead, I apologize.
Yeah, I think what happens is, and I can say this for myself, that I feel that once we get that and we think, oh, it's homeopathic, I can take more than that, and then you just keep taking it, because you don't feel that it's that strong as opposed to an antibiotic that you would get from, the pharmacist or something, right?
Of course.
So that's kind of my thought process, and I don't think that's. I think it's like anything else when it's being given by, a naturopath or a medical doctor, and, so we're talking about naturopaths. So really given by you, it would be where you know what you're dealing with. So it's like, this is what we're going to be giving you at this time, and then you can kind of see what's been going on and kind of monitor it and see.
Yeah, exactly. And homeopathy is incredible. It's just really incredible, capable of some great results.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how that's, because I don't think a lot of people, maybe the listeners, aren't aware of what really homeopathy is and what the advantages of that really are.
Yeah, and I think there's the problem also with homeopathy is you really have to find somebody that knows how to practice it. And there's a lot of people that apply for me, different people will say different things. There's a traditional system that develops under the homeopathic system, and it takes a lot of time to get to know, and basically what you're looking to do is instead of treating with, to give you an explanation there, right, instead of treating with opposites like depression, antidepressants, excessive stomach acid, antacids, you're treating with similars. So this basically means that you are considering you're considering that what is wrong with the symptom is not in the loss of a protein, but is an imbalance within the system, represented by a full set of symptoms. And a full set of symptoms in such a way is that you have the individual's chief complaint, and the characteristics of that chief complaint or the full symptom. And it's important to base yourself in the chief complaint, but the chief complaint, as far as attaching the medicine to an individual and making sure that they resonate well, any individual could have difficulty breathing or what we know of as asthma. It doesn't say anything about the individual with that, and it wouldn't say anything about which medicine to give. It's certain characteristics in the realm of the chief complaint that say, oh, well, it's not this type of asthma, it's that type of asthma. For instance, if the person develops asthma through extensive cold, that could be a way to lean it, a modality made better or by worse. For instance, another modality might be their asthma is relieved at a certain time of day in a certain body position. When they do have asthma, they have other symptomology that comes along with the asthma. Maybe they get digestive gurgling with the asthma. And these symptoms, atypical of the medical diagnosis of asthma, are what helps to treat in the symptom world. But homeopathy isn't only just a look at what is characteristic in the genetic condition we call asthma and specified to the individual by the modalities, but it's also triangulating a number of symptoms. So once again, on one side we have the chief complaint and its general full set of symptoms. We have what are called general physiological features. This might be perspiration, this might be sleep, this might be sensitivities to the environment, it might be appetite, menstrual cycle. So that's the second category, and modalities and other symptoms set aside to show specifically where the person's focus is there. And then the third would be what's called the constitution of the individual. This just means that, we all have our predilections to certain emotions and certain expressions of that. It's not just 3 or 4 or 5 emotions. There's all sorts of dispositions that make up our identity. So a true classical homeopathic system, in my mind, the one that was developed 200 years ago, was that developmental process where you're looking to provide a similar one that matches the constitution of the individual, matches their general physiological features, and matches the complete set of symptoms for the chief complaint, especially governed by the modalities of how that condition is made worse or made better. So this isn't something that you would do in a short amount of time, and it's something that you would do when done well in such detail that you really capture the individual, a full picture of the individual. And when you get to that state, it's incredible with what it can do, and it can act incredibly fast. And it can also, it's not the kind of medicine also that you have to take forever, because all you're looking to do is stimulate the system to heal. And once again, if you listen to last week's episode, there is a placebo effect. This is not a placebo. This is a medicine that stimulates the system to heal. Placebo is another that stimulates the system to heal, deceptively so, in the sense that individuals think they're getting a medicine to heal, and once they find out they're not, that might stop. But it still demonstrates quite clearly that the system can heal under the right circumstances. Homeopathic medicine is one of those circumstances that can really help to right a wrong in the system. I hope that explanation wasn't too much, Linda, but
no, are you kidding?
It really
no,
is a system that people don't understand.
Exactly, because I mean, again, I've gone to the store to get homeopathic stuff and just taken it and not really, trying different things and things like that. But I think what's really important is to bring home is to this whole conversation and really to the whole month of really what you do is for someone to go in and if they're having symptoms or they're having whatever, something going on, is to get to what you just said is about the imbalance and find out what the imbalance is and guiding them to whatever modality, or would it always be bringing in the classical homeopathy? Would it always be brought in, or I guess you really can't answer that question unless you really know what you're dealing with. Yeah? What
do you mean by would it always be brought in?
Well, would you always, if someone was dealing, or like for myself, the digestive situation, would homeopathic...
I always use it.
So there must be a lot of homeopathic remedies.
There are, and the reason I always use it is both potentially damaging to my business, and it's it's potentially damaging to my business because it can be so effective and so quickly effective. People might not return as much as I would like them to. So I can put someone on all sorts of different things to maintain their symptoms, and sometimes you really want to do that. You want to make sure certain things are in place and helping to fight some potential issue. But classical homeopathy really can stimulate a healing, and therefore, it's beautiful in that it just stimulates the system to heal, and it doesn't stimulate small things to heal. And people won't know that until they go to someone really well trained. They won't have an idea. And there are so many people that practice it and say they practice it, but it's not classical homeopathy. There's a big difference by what people call homeopathy, which could be almost anything. I'll muscle test this, I'll muscle test that. It's not that I don't believe in muscle testing, I guess. I'm unsure of it. It seems like there could be, how could you ever assess false positives and false negatives with that? I don't know. It's just not the same thing. Classical homeopathy is a lot of work. Not only do I need to be able to extract the symptoms from the individual and understand what they're saying. You have to understand what they're saying. But not only that, you have to understand the state in what they're saying. Because they'll make claims and suggestions of I feel this way or I feel that way, but you have to listen to how they're representing it to really understand and fall down the rabbit hole. And so, when you extract all that information, then you have to know how to find it within what's called the repertories, which is our books, and find the appropriate symptoms to match it up. You have to know which symptoms to use. You just can't use 180 symptoms. Once again, you have to be able to feel into that state, of that individual, and then say, okay, these are the important symptoms. Then you have to do a relatively good triangulation and representation of the case. Representation of the case meaning, you don't want to over-represent some symptom that the individual isn't so interested in. It does need to be a practical application too. And then once you get all these once you get this repertorial analysis of symptoms, you'll get this long list of medicines. Then you have to know medicines really, really well. You have to know what they're capable of doing, because remedies, just as an individual, can kind of throw off, I have this symptom, I have that symptom, I go this, I go that, blah, 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 blah. A remedy is the same thing, but you have to know what they're especially associated with. You have to know which symptoms can come and go and which symptoms are predominant in the effect of it. And homeopathy is proved upon toxicological symptoms. So if you understand that there's a toxicological grounding in homeopathic remedies, and that, if something, homeopathy is like cures like. So if something can bring something on, it can cure it. But with the homeopathic symptom, you're just diluting it. So there's a lot of work there. And it's not for somebody that doesn't want to spend their time. When I first did classical homeopathy when I was getting out of school, and I loved it, and I was one of the top homeopaths in my school, I spent 10 hours a case. And the only reason I spent 10 hours is at some point I just had to say, I'm not exactly sure if I can find a better remedy. This seems to be what I can find, and I have to stop looking, because you can just keep going through books and repertories and symptoms and try to reanalyze things, see if you looked at it the wrong way. And now I can kind of just look through a long list of remedies, know that my symptoms are good, and know that I've spent the time to analyze it and extract not only the symptomology but the state of the symptomology. And then I can just kind of scan a bunch of remedies and say, no, maybe, no, sounds all right, no, oh, look at this, and so on. So it's an exciting and gratifying thing to see a medicine help to reconfigure someone. It's really, truly amazing, and I wish more people understood and appreciated it. And I think as there are more people that are interested in classical homeopathy, it's going to start seeping into the public knowledge of what it's capable of. It's a matter of time. Well, but the problem is I'm not sure most people want to work that hard at something like that. It's a labor of love. The only reason you become a classical homeopath is because you just love it to pieces, because it's amazing. It's truly a great investigational experience.
Well, that's why they want to go to you, because you have a passion for it, right? So
I love it.
Once you find somebody, you don't. No. What? You do. You have a passion for that.
Oh yeah, of course. I adore classical homeopathy. It treated me, and it doesn't make you perfect. It just takes away a lot of the intensity of something that you're directing, and it just it just takes the heat off your perspective. It allows more of reality. Like I think was I saying to you that you can't tell reality what it is. Reality tells you what it is.
Right.
Did I say that on the last show? Yeah. So it's the same thing. To some extent, if we're just talking about a psychological effect from homeopathy, not a physical effect. From a psychological effect, it's like all of a sudden it becomes clear what reality's saying, or you're not feeling like you're barking. I don't orders or something. It's really hard to understand. All I know is from my personal experience of watching my patients, it's just all of a sudden some heat is removed and everything becomes easy.
Right.
Easier. It's really quite
I love
beautiful.
that. Well, and when you had mentioned a little bit earlier that it could be damaging to your practice because it can go too fast. But what really came up for me was because what a lot of people don't know, and if they're going to be listening to these shows for the whole month, which we hope you do, listeners, because really, he does so many things that we can't even tap into for the whole month. And so really, it's happening on that, and saying it's damaging. Yeah, but you have the craniosacral, which we'll talk about next week, right? The craniosacral therapy. And I've been doing that for, oh my gosh, I think I told you 20-something years, and my kids have been doing it since they were 5. They still do it. It's an amazing modality.
Truly amazing. And, the body electric.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's so many, so that tapping into that, not having people come back. So I think having people know what all the things that you're up to and doing that when one thing is taken care of, just the craniosacral itself, and my experience with that is just the whole nervous system just going, and just relaxing into that moment and that space, and just letting go of everything. So I think
craniosacral is incredible.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, totally. And we've got 4 minutes, but I'm trying to get these questions out there. So, and I know we talked about the craniosacral. I don't know if there's anything that you want to bring in, but I did have a question on the transformative nature of the homeopathic system. I don't really know what that is, and I don't know if we've touched on that during our conversation because I'm not sure what that is.
No, I just say transformational, and it's anything, for me, when I say transformational, it's anything that doesn't require a medicine or maybe even a lifestyle choice to ground down the change. Now, whatever you're doing, if you apply yourself, you're going to do better. But for me, transformational is some application of something that helps to move. And maybe transformation isn't the perfect word. It's just an understandable word. But it transforms the system. It takes off some heat, takes off some intensity. And before you know it, without any effort, without any attention, that's what I always loved about homeopathy and craniosacral or any kind of biomagnetic treatment, it just helps the system resolve. And for me, I've got a lot of explanations of why that happens. But, that's the difference. You've got all sorts of medicines. On one end, I do something like prolotherapy, where I'm sticking needles into the interface of the bones and the connective tissue. It's very, it's a very safe procedure, but it's a serious procedure, and it's great. In and of itself, it's restorative. It's really restorative too, because it regenerates connective tissue. But then you have, I'm into conventional medicine. I would use antibiotics in situations. I would use steroids in situations. There's all sorts of things that you can do, but that's the difference between transformational and mechanistic, materialistic medicine. It doesn't really consider how to help the system. It considers how to stop the system. And stopping the system can be very important. The system loves to get inflamed and go for a party of inflammation. And so therefore, you can throw out some anti-inflammatories and make a change. Right. But there are medicines out there that can redirect, or there are medical systems or medical experiences or therapeutic experiences that can help redirect the system. And craniosacral is beautiful at that. Classical homeopathy is beautiful at that. Acupuncture, I've never practiced it, but I've heard great stories about that. Clinical nutrition, obviously, your roots into health. There's just so much out there, and I want people to know that it's really not woo-woo. It's classical homeopathy in itself just has so much research, and when it's well practiced and it's well matched up for the individual, not just here. Look, take this for cold and flu. Does that sound familiar? Take this for cold and flu. That's why people take that. It doesn't give them lasting improvement because it's take this for cold and flu. You're not treating cold and flu. That's the genetic structure of what it means to have a cold and flu. If somebody's truly a homeopath, you're trying to treat the characteristics of your cold and flu. And it's in the characteristics of your cold and flu that shows you and your relationship with the genetic structure of what is a cold and flu. And when you look at it that way, you determine it that way with a medicine that has a tendency to cold and flu, but the characteristics match in that medicine as that individual, you're going to get amazing responses. And it's a lot of work, but it's truly brilliant and beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we can continue this because I have other questions, but I can bring them up for next week because it'll fit right in with the craniosacral. So we've got about a minute left, and so what advice would you like to share with our listeners for today?
On homeopathy?
Or just in general?
Give it a try, the best thing to do is really talk to someone that knows about classical homeopathy. There's a lot of learning curve there, and I'm not sure we provided a conversation that would make people understand it. But it's, truly, I guess the issue is it's truly restorative. And it's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's truly restorative. And I don't know. I would always just want people to. I do it in everything I do in general medicine because it's that effective.
Well, you guys, listeners out there, definitely give Dr. Joe a call at 949-444-4884. You can also reach him at www.holisticssolutionsdoc.com. That's correct, right?
HolisticSolutionsDoc, as in doctor.com.
Yeah, doc.com. So give him a chance, give him a try, call him, and because I know he's great at what he does. And so thank you, Dr. Joe, for being on the show again today. We look forward to seeing you next week as well. I'd like to thank all the listeners that joined us today and the ones that will be joining us via YouTube. Thank you so much. Please follow, subscribe, comment, and like us, and join us next week, June 22nd, for our next show on craniosacral therapy, increasing CNS circulation and function. So thank you again so much for being on the show, Dr. Dubroff. We really greatly appreciate it. And for all you listeners, really give him a call, 949-444-4884. Trust me, you won't regret it. So he's amazing. He's passionate about what he does, and he'd be a great person to get in touch with. So thanks again, Dr. Dubroff, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Linda. I'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.